Yeah, I'm just looking to set up a time to come in for a site visit and hear how the project's going. I kind of fell into working on M&D. I was looking to do a PhD in the neuroscience field and I just read about a project on M&D. I'd never heard about it before. And part of the project was that I got supported for a PhD scholarship through a community Rotary clubs. And ever since that day, and I met those people in that community who really rallied behind the cause, I really wanted to be able to work in M&D and do something to try to help this disease.
Beck completed her PhD and was working at the Florey Neuroscience Institute in Melbourne when she met cancer doctor Ian Davis, who'd been diagnosed with MND.
When he was diagnosed with MND, he just wouldn't accept that there was nothing available and there was nothing in the pipeline. And he had a vision for changing that sense of that lack of hope that there was for people who were diagnosed with MND.
It was that vision that inspired Beck to leave the Florey Institute and become part of Fight MND with Dr. Ian Davis.
When I started working with Ian, he was incredibly motivated, incredibly passionate. He would work 24/7, really. And as his disease started to progress and he became less able to do things, I was able to take on a lot of what he was doing. And after he died, I really feel that importance of continuing his work. It's enormous shoes to fill. And I know the saying goes, you stand on the shoulder of giants and there's probably no bigger giant than Ian Davis.
These days, Beck isn't so hands-on. She oversees all the research investments and monitors the progress of projects and any therapeutics that may help people living with MND.
Everything you do in the lab, you never just do it once. You need to repeat it and really validate that what you've seen is real. So a lot of the way that we actually invest in research came from Ian's background. So before Ian was diagnosed, he was a cancer doctor and he would have patients come in to see him and he'd be able to offer them different treatment options or to offer them opportunities to participate in clinical trials of new experimental drugs that were coming through the pipeline.
So Fight MND have actually transformed the MND research landscape in Australia and indeed the world.
Associate Professor Brad Turner heads up the MND Research Laboratory, leading a large research team investigating the causes of MND, as well as developing effective treatment approaches for the disease.
Yeah, this is a really exciting program, and this is what the funding has purchased. So this is a dedicated facility, and what we're doing is we're growing MND patient cells in the Petri dish.
This cutting-edge drug screening platform enables nerve cells of MND patients to be screened against hundreds and thousands of prescription medications, looking for that one hit that will work for MND.
So this is MND under the microscope. You can see that these cells are starting to break down and they're losing contact and communication with other cells. This is exactly the disease process that occurs in patients with MND.
Getting life-saving drugs into MND patients as quickly as possible is critical, and new technology like this robotic microscope accelerates the process.
Using traditional clinical trials, these trials can take 10 to 15 years. Patients with MND cannot wait. We're talking here about generations of MND patients being lost. And with the aid of this high-end equipment, we're able to accelerate the process of finding effective drugs for motor neuron disease, probably by a factor of about 30.
So MND is a really complex disease and we don't know what the cause of it is. So really getting to really understanding what that cause of MND it could be really critical to treating it. At the same time, from studying MND, we also know a number of different mechanisms that are happening as the disease progresses. And so developing treatments against these sort of later stage mechanisms of disease could also help to slow the disease down. And that would have an enormous impact on people who are living with MND, give them some more time to spend with their family and loved ones and to also improve their quality of life while they're battling the disease.
Tell me about Neil Danaher and his family and the incredible commitment Neil has made to raising awareness of this disease.
So Neil's an incredibly smart man, just so committed to the cause, and his family, not just his immediate family, his extended family, they really have got behind this and they're a big player in why Fight MND is such a success. And for Neil to really be going through his disease so publicly, it's incredibly brave, it's incredibly strong, but I think it's really who Neil is.
While Beck's role at Fight MND takes her away from the lab discovering new treatments, seeing the impact they're having inspires her to keep going to fund a breakthrough in the fight of this disease.
I love my job so much. It's incredible to be part of such a great organisation. You know, I love science, I like research, but I also love sport. I love the competitiveness of sport, and I love the power of sport and community. So seeing how sport can really drive that community togetherness and have a real impact on a disease like MND, yeah, as much as I miss being in the lab, I'm where I should be, and yeah, I'm very honoured to be working for Fight MND.